Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the Village Idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro, and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to Newark and Sherwood, and to a village that's so small it doesn't really have much in the way of amenities. In fact, all it's really got is that church you can see behind me and a very small village hall that I almost mistook for a house. So this video is not going to be presented in the modern format of welcome to amenities and landmarks. Rather, it's just going to be a very simple circular walk. Welcome to Girton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Gurton is a tiny village and civil parish in Newark and Sherwood, Nottinghamshire. It's one of Newark and Sherwood's smallest villages, both in terms of size and population. According to the 2001 census, it had a population of 143, reducing slightly to 140 by 2011. Here we are located 9 miles north of Newark and 17 miles west of Lincoln. This might be small, but it's full of characterful properties. There are some good examples of early northeast Nottinghamshire cottages here. Once again, we're on the banks of the River Trent, but we're also close to something called the Fleet, sometimes known as the Fleet Drain or uncommonly, the River Fleet. Here's the village hall, which, as I said at the top, I almost mistook for a house because it's so small. Girton does not have a formal parish council. Instead, there's a semi-annual parish meeting in the village hall to discuss civic and political issues. The parish notice board sits on the wall, and there's a TVI card proudly displayed upon it now. Girton has flooded many times thanks to the Trent and the Fleet. Most of the village is on low-lying ground. The church is on the only high ground within the parish. Speaking of floods, Girton has many floodplains. These support many species of plants and wildlife such as Meadow Foxtail and meadowsweet. Now what you're seeing here is not the River Trent, that's a little bit further to the west. This is part of the River Trent's floodplain on the eastern side of the river. And it's a good thing there is a floodplain here, because back in the 1700s there was a flood that affected Girton and nearby Spalford. In 1795, the largest flood ever known in the area swamped both Girton and nearby Spalford. Although there was a flood bank, the sheer force of the water caused an immense breach. The flood bank was subsequently strengthened and repaired following further Trent floods in 1824 and 1852. Somewhere in the village is a flood marker showing the height of the 1795 flood, although I didn't find it anywhere on my walk around. However, I did find a picture of it. This is what it looks like, and you'll find it on the wall of Chantry Cottage. Look how high the water got in 1795. Our walk started at the parish church of St Cecilia, and it's also where it's going to end. This is quite the unique place of worship by all accounts. St Cecilia, by the way, is the patron saint of musicians. This is a small, aisleless church partially rebuilt and thoroughly restored in 1879. Originally, it was built in the 13th century. In the church porch is a Saxon grave marker. The Saxon cross is said by some to be the oldest ecclesiastical item in Nottinghamshire. Regular Sunday services are no longer held at the church, and it's now managed by the Nottinghamshire Historic Churches Trust. So that's taken me all of 18 minutes to walk around the main village, and I say main village because we still need to catch a few other bits. I'm now going to put the camera on the dashboard to drive around the outskirts of Girton, if you like, and we're going to end up at Girton Sailing Club. Let's go. Now, there are other things within Girton Village which deserve a mention. One thing is Fleet Cottage, a great example of one of those Nottinghamshire red brick houses that dates from the 18th century, taking its name from the Fleet. Girton also once had a chapel used by the Free Methodists in the late 1800s and early 1900s. As far as floods go, the last major flood was in 2012 when the floodwaters cut off the village from the rest of the county. Girton's demographics sees it have a population density of 25.52 and a population that's 99.3% white British. The average house price, by the way, comes in at a whopping £410,000. Our drive will now take us into some of the parish's 6.1 square kilometres away from the main village and up New Lane off the A1133. There are plenty of farms and businesses that will pass on the road as it loops around back on itself towards the main road. These include, but are not limited to, Chestnut Farm Alpacas, Edward Lloyd Poultry Farm, an industrial coating business, the Tuxford Lawnmower Centre, and a campsite based on a farm called Nottinghamshire Nature Lakes. However, above all, this is the road that leads to a local nature reserve called Spalford Warren, which is on this bend right here. It's right on the parish boundary and belongs to Spalford, not Girton. It's a rare, sand-blown heathland which is open to the public, and I found out some amazing things about it. Be sure to watch the Spalford episode next week to find out what I discovered. For now, it's back to the A1133 and we're off to Girton Sailing Club. Girton Sailing Club occupies a 100-acre lake. Club racing takes place here on Sundays from March to December and on Friday evenings during the lighter nights. It also holds pursuit races on bank holiday weekends. The gravel quarry complex is sometimes known collectively as Girton Pits. There's more than one lagoon and the site is bisected by Green Lane. That's a rather bumpy track which runs north from Trent Lane in Girton Village, meeting with Meadow Lane and continuing for some way further north beyond the pit complex. There are four main parts to Girton Pits: the A1133 pit, the Sailing Lake, the North Pit and Spalford Pit. There are a number of smaller pits as well, but none of them are particularly easy to access. The Sailing Lake is perhaps the best pit in the complex for the avid bird watcher, and it's best viewed from its southern boundary on Trent Lane. So the lakes themselves are private, so we can't get any closer than we are here. I'm fully entitled to be on this stretch of road though, because this is actually a byway, so I am allowed to walk up here and I'm allowed to film from here, but you just can't see any more of the lakes than what you can see effectively just there, unfortunately. But there we go, that's the parish of Girton, ending here at Girton Sailing Club. Nice little small one on the eastern bank of the River Trent, and it's time for me to move on to my next one here in Newark and Sherwood. So for now, this has been the parish of Girton, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.